Awesome. We're back. 5 Play Friday. We're looking at all of the things. We're going to look at 5 plays, maybe a bonus play. Who knows? Let's go. Stick around. Greetings. Welcome back to 5 Play Friday, the show where we look at all of the things get better as basketball officials. Greetings to you. My name's Greg Austin with A Better Official. And as we like to do, let's not waste any time. Let's get started and look at play number 1. This is a you make the call play. Correct ruling or not, you make the call.
In the first quarter, the 1-seed Christian Brothers, the 4-seed Wood Creek, trying to advance to the final on Friday night. That was close to half court, or backcourt, excuse me.
Possible backcourt violation. What do you have on this play? Put your ruling in the comments below. And of course, stick around to the end of the show because we will review play number 1 at the end of the show. And with that, let's not waste any time. Let's move on to play number 2.
And shot clock never reset. I'm not sure that ever hit the rim, so we got 14 on there. As Foster comes up the elevator shaft, and we got a block. I believe it's going to be on Wood Creek. Actually, no, it's going to be against Christian Brothers. So we have an illegal screen. It's going to be Omi Shotgun's first foul.
All right, welcome back to 5 Play Friday. I'm Greg Austin with A Better Official. Appreciate you joining today. And we are looking at plays. We're looking at all of the things. And on this play, we have an elevator shaft play, as it's often referred to. Let's take a look. Right, where our lead official does a great job of staying with the thrower, right, officiating their primary coverage area, not going with the ball that goes to the, not being distracted by the ball, right? So our lead stays with our thrower, recognizes the play scenario. We've got screening on a moving opponent, both late in establishing the screening position, screening illegal contact with an extended leg on the screening position, right? And we have a block. We recognize that as the calling official, but we have a moment of confusion with, what we want in the moment when we make a call like this is clarity, right? This is off-ball action, right? So we have to have more of a cell, more picture, more language, more communication so that everybody knows. We end up with a confused crew and potentially confused stakeholders in the game. But what we have is I have a block on white, right? And that we make that initial call, and that solidifies things for us as a calling official. And then from there, we can sort out and work through some stumbling blocks with our language and what we're communicating, etc. It would be great in this instance if we came up, foul, we have a team control foul, everybody knows, it's super clear, where's our throw-in going to be, etc. But in the absence of that, putting the block on the call, sorting through, etc. But our official does a great job of staying with the play that they should be staying with. That's really a key takeaway on this play. A lot of times on a play like this, just one moment. Yeah. A lot of times on a play like this, you'll see the lead official here go with the ball. Right, and they and they would pick up this defender here, right? And we could do that. We could pregame this how we want this. Do we expect this to be a 3-point shooter and then it would belong to the trail, or is this going to be a 2-point shooter, etc.? But recognizes this action here, recognizes the screening action that is illegal on the play. And so does a great job of staying with that, finding the illegal screen. Closing down, I like it. I like everything about it, but we do have that moment of confusion. And that's what we want to try to eliminate from our game. We want clarity in communication. But so many positives on the play for our calling official on that. And we like that. We like positive action. All right. Let's move forward to play number 3. All right, so a combo, 2 successive plays, 1 a made basket with time, a limited amount of time remaining, timeout requested, clock adjusted, and then a subsequent throw-in play, defense steals the ball, scores a basket, and then has something to say to our stunned home student section, something to look at, we want to be aware of, just all the habits and fundamentals that come into play here. So let's look at our original scenario, right? So we've got 10.8 on the clock in a tie game, right? So, these are the kind of scenarios we want to think through as officials, because we're going to have these scenarios again and again and again, and we want to be super solid. We have no room for error in these scenarios, right? So what are we going to have? What's our mindset as officials? We are going to officially... We are not going to put anything unusual into the game that we have not put in already. We want to have high certainty on anything that occurs in this scenario, any fouls, etc., violations, etc., right? We've got a long step-through move by our player at the free throw line, right? Well executed. Is there marginal movement of the pivot foot? That is not a thing on this play. It's a great play. Ball goes in the basket. Now we're anticipating what are we going to do if the ball goes in the basket? What do we expect to have happen, right? We expect that maybe the other one team or the other will request a timeout. And we have to be aware that when we grant the timeout, what the time is on the clock so that on the resulting throw-in, we can get that right. On this play, we have timeouts requested by both the coach and a player on the court. Let's take a look from here. Step through move. Step through Joe would want to look at that one. Ball goes in the basket. We've got this player, I believe, right here, requesting a timeout. And our head coach down here is requesting a timeout. The clock runs from 3.4 down to 3.0, but our crew decides to put 3.4 back on the clock. I think that's very accurate. And well done. And then on the following play, our throw-in play, defense anticipates, steals, instead of running out the clock, goes ahead and scores. And then immediately, rather than going to his teammates, goes to the opponent's student section, something to be aware of in this situation. Of course, yes. In this moment, we're thinking this game is over. Our crew is leaving. Crew runs off the court. That may be the fashion. the way that we want to leave the court in a fashion that we deem to be proper, right? We don't want to run away from the game, but we want to leave quickly. But our player who basically makes a defiant stance and maybe has some words to say, is there anything unsporting in this action? We need to be aware of this action, though. And of course, if we deemed this to be a technical foul, then we would have nothing of note. Since this team is now ahead by 4, we could assess a player technical, but it's not going to affect the outcome of the game. This would certainly have to be something that's egregious, but it's something we'd want to be aware of on this play. A lot we could take from the scenario of things we want to learn, but fundamentally what we want to do is make sure that if we're in this situation, right, 10 or 11 seconds remaining, tie game. What is our mindset? What do we know? What do we expect? Who have we identified what they're probably going to do? Are they going to be screening action, etc.? Tie score, we want high certainty on calls, right? 1-point game, either direction, we want high certainty on calls. We want to anticipate strategies that may be employed, but not anticipate the calls that we might make in the game. I'll tell you what I really love. I love the positioning of our crew for this throw-in, right? So this is a 2-point game. White is down 2. Our center is in fantastic position, right? A lot of times we'll see a center, they are here or here. This is where the game is, right here, right? This is what we need to look at. And our lead has not run away from the game. So our lead could participate in officiating. They're not down at the end line, hanging out, waiting for something to happen. Right, so who is officiating what on this play? And again, this is a high certainty situation, right? They seem to be running something where this player is going to go set a screen here. It's going to release a player who could potentially go deep. I don't see a real impact on that screening action, right? Again, we're going to want high certainty that something illegal that is obvious and has a great impact on the game. And even if it was, since the ball went away, was this illegal contact or incidental contact? So a great scenario for review. Has some good stuff at the end with the player going to the opponent's bench. But a good play to review, a combo play, a rare combo play here at 5 Play Friday. But with that, let's move on to play number 4. All right, fast break situation. So one of the biggest challenges we face in officiating high school basketball is the officiating a large player, a tall player against a small player, right? The rules, the basketball rules are designed to create a fair scenario between these players. But when you have an extreme difference in size, it can present some real issues. Little players slam into big players with no impact. Big players have contact with small players, and we can interpret that to be, this big player has caused harm to this player, right? If we look at this scenario, first of all, it's like if we are going to pregame this play, who do we want officiating this number 35 on white, right? This is going to be the lead's primary coverage on this play. If the lead fails to make a call on an obvious foul, then the center. We would want them to come in with secondary cadence in this situation. Do we have an obvious foul in this situation, or do we have a tall player, right? What is our small player attempting to do in this scenario? They have something specific that they're trying to do. They want to go into the body of the tall player to negate their shot blocking ability so they can get off a shot. They achieve that. They go into the body. That contact by the small player does not affect our tall player. And the tall player is still able to continue and block the shot. This is a great defensive play by a player who's just taller than everybody else. And we have to recognize that. Does this player obviously go from A to B on this play, jump from one spot and have body contact in the air and get into the path of an airborne player? Not in my judgment, no. Right? If we look at the play, player jumps here, yields somewhat, right? Is there marginal movement from A to B in this instance? Possibly. Is that how we're going to officiate this player in this game? And if we look at the whole play on its merits, is this the best outcome on this play? So, if a kid like this, a tall player like this, must be officiated over the course of a season in an extremely diverse fashion, right? Because every official, when confronted with, how are we going to officiate this player tonight? A lot of times with tall players, the gnats are swiping down, creating contact on them that has no effect on them whatsoever, right? And a lot of times we will let that go and we will get the obvious stuff. But it's a great play for review, right, for a number of areas. First of all, we recognize the difficulty tall versus small, but also just what's our basic approach to the game, right? How do we want to handle a play like this with a secondary defender in the lane? The lead is in position to officiate it. Do we want to, as center, come in and put a whistle on that play, or do we want to have trust in working the system, right? I would say that's what's lacking on this play. But it's a good play to learn from, right, as we move forward. Hey, give me a quick second here. Allow me to thank those who fuel our broadcast, our tremendous show supporters. Who's up on the show supporter big board today? Chris Hirano, Daniel Ravenscroft, Kevin Scott, Ken Niederheiser, and Stan Bickler. Much appreciated. Much love. You want to support the show? Yes, you can find the link. It's in the show description below. And of course, yes, I will put one. Where? Up above. Awesome. Let's move on to play 5. All right, a twofer. 2 interesting components to this play. We have a possible backcourt violation. We've got defensive activity and offensive reaction to that activity prior to that. So I guess it's a three-pronged attack here on this play, right? So we can look at the initial defensive action and what we're allowing the defender to do. a possible backcourt violation, and then boom, there's your block charge play out of the corner of your eye. Are we able to transfer our eyes and properly adjudicate that play? Right? So our first component on this play, I think, has to be and you're going to call the game, right? We've got a defensive player against a star player, I would think, in this situation. They keep a hand on, multiple touches. The offensive player moves the defensive player's hand away because of the defensive contact. That's always a cue to us that we potentially have hand-checking violation. Then we have subsequent action at the division line. Is this a backcourt violation? And then a surprise block charge play. So let's look at all the things. We are at the end of the first period. Right? This defensive player is up in. We've got a lot of hair going. All hair always amplifies everything. Ball bounces off of Green's foot towards the division line. Green contacts the ball, but there was never an absence of team control, and then White, straddling the division line, picks the ball up. This would be a backcourt violation by rule. A lot of stuff going on, though, on that play. Do we have high certainty that a backcourt violation has occurred? Yes, no. And then, is it a high processing play? Is it something that we're thinking about, and right? We've got this an indication of a tipped ball and a blocking foul is ruled. Was our defender legal? Let's take a look. We definitely have a ward off by our offensive player. Something I think that from just seeing this short clip, I think they are not uncommon for them to do. And a blocking foul is ruled on that play. Great certainty, right? A lot of not waffling as the calling official. That is what I have. That is a block sideline. We got a wave off by the coach. Something we could potentially needs to be addressed, etc. This is an end of quarter situation. Again, a lot of times a team's defensive tactics will all be geared towards, if a team has a star player or a key player, making that player work extra hard, try to take charges on them, etc. Their game plan is geared towards them. Sometimes they can be frustrated if we don't. Boy, that was not an airborne player. That was a dribbler. We've got a defender moving laterally or obliquely, and then we've got a displacement action by White on that play. And again, we have a player who is larger in size displacing a player who is smaller in size. So an interesting backcourt scenario. So originally, this is a backcourt violation by rule if White was the last to touch in the front court and the first to touch in the backcourt. Let's see if that's the case. It's off of White's foot. Green touched the ball in the backcourt with backcourt status. And then White picked the ball. Well, let me think this through now. Let me think this through. What do we have here? Yeah, White is the team that caused the ball to gain backcourt status. And nothing prior to that, the deflection, did not impact the lack of team control. So this should be a backcourt violation by rule. This is a banger. If you want to be super precise about in the path, you may have a case that this is a block. Let's take a look. Legal guarding position, moving laterally or obliquely, does have an extended hand, but then white extends a hand as well. Those actions both occur. Yeah. I think the coach has a case, but what we show on the play, though, as the calling official, is certainty and strength. That is a block. We are going sideline, right? Report. I guess we move away in this state. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's the call we put in the game. You could say, no, it should have been this, should have been that, etc. But what we want to say show is strength and certainty on the court, and I think our calling official does a great job of doing that on this play. I appreciate Adam Coffman submitting that play. If you want to submit a play, you can always submit it at betterofficial.com/submitplays, and possibly, your play will appear on a future episode of 5 Play Friday. All right, on play number 1, we had a possible backcourt violation. What did you have on the play? Let's review play number 1.
In the first quarter, the 1-seed Christian Brothers, the 4-seed Wood Creek, trying to advance to the final on Friday night. That was close to half court, or backcourt, excuse me. In the first quarter.
I think we had a moment of indecision as the trail official on this play. Nothing from the center. Is this a backcourt violation? And if it is it super close? What would need to be in place for us to have a backcourt violation on this play? Let's look at that. Okay, so we have a player. Let's go here. Who catches the basketball. We have team control on the court, and we have a player who catches the basketball. What is the status of this player with the basketball? They are clearly in the backcourt. They land. They have a foot on the division line. This is a player with backcourt status. She is holding the basketball. Okay? We know that when a dribbler moves from the backcourt to the front court, all 3 points must be established in the front court. The player picks up her dribble prior to that event occurring, so as a dribbler, the ball does not gain front court status here. But then she, with a foot in the front court, grabs the ball to pass to a teammate, and in doing so, lifts her back foot. So for a brief instant, I don't know that it occurs, right? So we potentially, for a brief instant, have a player holding the ball, ready to pass the ball, touching only the front court and not the back court. If that happens, then this would technically be a backcourt violation. It is super close. But if we look at that right foot on this play, does the right foot come off before the ball is released? Maybe. And of course, we are calling official. What do they have? Their view of this play, of this activity. They've got backs in the way. Can't necessarily see the foot. And in this situation, if we're going to rule a violation on the play, we must have all of the information available to us. Our center official has nothing on the play. This is not an obvious violation. Is it technically, just for a brief instance, a fraction of a second, the player achieved front court status? Possibly, but we don't have enough information to make a call here. And then, of course, we've got the glare. Right? Our trail officials got the back of her, the back of her leg, and the glare. We love the glare. A lot going against us on this play. But in the end, no violation is ruled. The stakeholders in the game or those adjacent to the game say, well, wait a minute, did something happen? We're not sure. We don't know the rules. But in the end, I think our crew made the correct decision in the absence of absolute information on this play. We're not guessing about a possible super close violation here. Brings us back to play number 5, which again was a high processing play. We're thinking it through. And again, we can always come late. If we can connect the dots on a play like this, and we do have the information, we can always come late and get it. But in this instance, our crew made the correct decision to not put a whistle on the play. Takeaways here would be 2 things. One is looking at the play in slow motion, we could see what actually occurred on the play. And we can analyze, okay, by rule, did something illegal occur? Okay, great. We could say, now because I have an understanding of the rule. I understand what a player, what the status of the ball changes during the elements of the play. And in one instance, there is front court status and then a pass back to a teammate in the backcourt. Okay, great. I understand the rule. But in real time, for practical purposes, with the absence, without having the slow-mo and all of the information that we can gain from this video, based on what our view from the court, we can't put a whistle on this play because we don't have all of the information we need to rule that it was a violation. So one of the things we do when we analyze slow motion stuff, the purpose of doing that is to illuminate exactly what occurred on the play. And at various moments, maybe some status changed, like on our previous play 5, where a player touches the ball while they are laying in the backcourt. What impact does this have on the status of the ball? And understanding that, so we can enhance our rules knowledge, and then we can adjudicate plays more properly and potentially more quickly in real time. But we don't officiate in slow motion; we officiate in real time. But understanding the rules and the elements that come into play in making determinations about violations can be enhanced by a slow motion. Hey, let's look at a bonus play today. Okay. Reminiscent of our play where we discussed the NFHS interpretation that a player laying on the floor is legally entitled to that position. But on this play, our player is not in that position prior to the player going airborne. Interesting, right? So we have no call on this play, and then we have subsequent coach action, which does not appear to be addressed and is simply ignored. Things for us to look at on a play such as this. Right, we have recognition from the crew. This is an end of quarter scenario, end of period. Player goes airborne. Player falls to the floor underneath them. Our airborne player lands on them. No call on the play. Our trail official seemed anxious to put a whistle on the play, but none came. Is this legal action by, per NFHS on this play? No. No. I mean, I appreciate that NFHS has the interpretation about a player being entitled to a spot on the floor if they got there, that they are not illegal in doing so. I appreciate that concept. But on this scenario, they are not even in the spot prior to the player going airborne. Whoops. We have a player falling underneath an airborne player. Very dangerous situation. Player falls hard on their hip. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Our trail, eager to put a whistle, does not put a whistle on the play, expecting it to come from the lead. And then we have subsequent coach action, which is unaddressed. Now, it is the end of a period, so the coach is entitled to come onto the floor and be in their timeout area. This always creates interesting situations for us to analyze, because in the absence of that, if the coach comes onto the court and verbally suggests the officials made a incorrect ruling on the play, then we have something different. Boy, oh boy. That play needed a whistle. That play needed a whistle, and our coach needed to be addressed on this play. I mean, that's the bottom line. Yep. Pretty straightforward, right? So, as we have in a previous video, we've discussed the legality of a player by NFHS interpretation when they are on the floor and don't take an intentional action. But this player is therefore to be considered legal. But this player was not even in that position when the player went airborne. This is a blocking foul by rule, I would suggest. And it's also a foul that needs a whistle. And that whistle could come from any of the three officials on the court. In the absence of that, even though we may recognize that we have not potentially made the correct ruling in this situation, we must address coach behavior in this situation. And the way we address it, right, there are many ways we can address it. We can use soft skills. We can use the hammer that we have and assess a technical foul, but does need to be addressed. All right. Hey, I appreciate everybody joining today. Appreciate everybody joining today. Allow me a moment to thank those who fuel our broadcast, our tremendous show supporters. Who is up on the show supporter big board today? Chris Hirano, Daniel Ravenscroft, Kevin Scott, Ken Niederheiser, and Stan Bickler. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show? There is always a link down in the show description. And as usual, I will put a link. Where am I going to put it today? How about right there? Awesome. We have for you additional video content. I've curated it myself. I have a great video for you to view here and another great video to view here. Now you have a conundrum. Which video to view? Make your choice. Choose wisely. See you in the next one. Take care, everybody.